I'm gonna pull the whole thing down. I'm gonna bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's gonna be biblical.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to Patriots Across the Pond with Stu and Elisa. I must apologize in advance. My gardener showed up for the first time for this season, so I didn't have a chance to find out when he was coming. And I'm going to try to mute myself as much as possible because he's out there doing his thing. Anyway, how are you today, Stu?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's a lot quieter in here than your house. Your dog stopped barking. The gardener's next door at the moment, by the sounds of it.
Yeah. Hopefully the dog won't bark either at the gardener. I'm going to have to set him like on a schedule that doesn't interfere. But like I said, he just showed up today. So we have the one and only Mike Bara coming back today. Here he is live.
Sorry. I apologize for being late. I suck. So
well, we'll give you a Pasadena on that one.
Yeah,
Rough evening, lots of busyness.
Oh no, just I traveled to Los Angeles this weekend for the Alien event in Los Angeles, and I traveled back. I was out late to the after party, got up very early, and had a long drive and had a million chores and never got caught up. It was actually a rough day, and I just I'm just tired, but I'll be fine. I gotta hang out with Mel later. So
yes, you got that.
He's in Vegas, he's in Vegas today. So I'm gonna go hang out with him.
How was the event? The Alien
The event was good. It was I brought up some new information about Kennedy and Nixon and Trump and how they're all connected, and I thought that was the presentation went pretty well considering it was the first time I gave it. We had some technical glitches. I wanted to play. It's a great video that Tucker Carlson did when he was still at Fox, just about how Nixon was removed and how it was all CIA behind it. And I think people mistake CIA as the people who are like in control. They're not. They're just the bag man. They just take orders from higher groups like, the Illuminati, the Council on Foreign Relations, and of course my favorite secret society, MJ-12. So they're just the muscle. They don't. But they are. Their fingers are in everything, and it was really fascinating because, Nixon. Kennedy, I've argued, was removed because he was going to go to the moon with the Russians. And of course, we were going to find ancient alien technology there. And they were not going to let the Soviet Union, who had just pointed nuclear missiles at us from Cuba a year before that, they were not going to let them have, technology to reverse engineer from alien species. So they took out Kennedy. But that kind of was a disaster, because the Warren Commission, nobody believed it from the beginning. And then Nixon comes along and Nixon's friends with Jackie Gleason, who was a very famous actor, comedian in the 1960s and 70s, one of the most famous in the world. And he's golfing buddies with Nixon, and Nixon takes him out on the golf course one day, and Jackie asks him about aliens. And that night, Nixon shows up, no car, no Secret Service, just all by himself, puts him in the car, takes him to Holloman Air Force Base, shows him the dead bodies of the aliens. And about a month later, Watergate commences, and they take Nixon down. It was all a setup, and everybody involved in Watergate was CIA. So CIA got the order again. Let's remove Richard Nixon. And now we have President Trump, who's, first thing that happened, I'm not going to say he did it, but the first thing that happened when he gets into office is all these To the Stars Academy videos get released, and there's stories on 60 Minutes and stories on Washington Post and in the New York Times about aliens and UFOs. And so Trump knew from his uncle, John Trump, who, classified and reviewed all of Nikola Tesla's papers when he died. Obviously Trump knows there's aliens, and I understand he wants to get out from under the issue. He wants to just get it out there so they can stop being bothered by it and they can focus on other things like the financial reset. And so, you have two guys that they took out. Kennedy, they killed him. Nixon, they forced him to resign. Trump, they're trying to impeach him. They're trying to get rid of him. So, and it all has to do with money and aliens. I think everything has to do with money and or aliens. So anyway, that's what the speech was.
So I wanted to just to remind everyone, the title of this episode is Iran, and it's linked to the financial reset. But since we're talking about the aliens, I wanted to ask you, what is your read on this new website, aliens.gov, I think, and alien.gov. I hope I'm getting that right. What that just
correct.
Came out, right? So what's your read on it?
My understanding is they are going to go ahead with this, that they want to get this done before the midterms. I believe they want to get out there that there's some sort of official statement backed by some evidence about aliens. The only question is nobody knows what the evidence is, and they're being fought. They're being resisted by the intelligence community. But again, this is the same intelligence community involved with taking out at least two other presidents and wanting to take out this one. So, I think it's a race. It's kind of a race to get it out there before the intelligence community can take control of the narrative and lie to people about the alien presence.
Yeah. Do you think that the CIA and those organizations have the same power they did with the two previous presidents?
Well, they don't. No, they don't have the power over Trump that they did. I clearly think he doesn't trust them, and he shouldn't. And other presidents who did trust them paid the price for it. Reagan talked a little bit too much about aliens, his constant references to, if only we faced a threat from outer space, we would all unite as one, and that's when they went after him with Iran-Contra. So, that one didn't work, but they probably at least calmed him down. Keep in mind, they shot President Kennedy, who had a lot to say about aliens, or at least knew a lot about aliens. According to the documentation, Ronald Reagan had a lot to say about aliens. They shot him too. And when that didn't work, then they tried to get him with Iran-Contra, but they didn't have the political power then to really do what they did in Watergate, and people didn't want another Watergate. So, the political situation right now is fascinating. There's a war going on between the darkness and the light of knowledge, and we're just gonna, Iran is part of this. So there's no doubt about it in my mind that we're seeing different aspects. It's like we're seeing the war on different battlefields. But, Elisa, I like to say, everything it's in the political arena is either about money or it's about aliens. And I just feel like more and more defined by that or proven right on that over and over again.
Mike,
Yes.
you've gone all metal Mickey. You might just have to go out and come back in. You're all frozen.
Who?
Mike.
Oh, Mike, I see him fine.
Oh, no, he's frozen here for me.
Huh.
That's
That's
weird.
been happening.
I didn't hear that. That all went weird. I don't know if other people could hear that, but maybe that's just me.
Well, let me check on my side here. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you guys are moving and I'm not.
Oh, now you're not moving. Yeah.
Interesting. It's weird. There's some weird thing when I go outside of StreamYard to look at something else, I freeze up. Am I moving now?
Okay, yeah, you're fine now. Can you just back up about 30 seconds, Mike? Okay.
Well, what I was saying is, I feel really vindicated because I like to argue everything is either aliens or it's money. And, and when I say money, I mean, of course, the fiat currency system and stuff like that. So we see these battles going on amongst empires. And it's funny because, everybody who thinks they understand the story. And then there's the sub story, the B story, Trump is doing Russia's will or Trump is doing Israel's will and Israel owns them. And it's like, no, there's an even third layer deeper than that. That is what's really going on. So, to me, I just feel really vindicated in my stance because everything seems to be right now happening around the financial reset and the aliens seems to be what's going on. Seems to be.
We used to do a lot of work with ancient aliens, Mike, didn't you? So, I mean,
Yeah.
if we're pushing for this disclosure, what sort of disclosure do you see coming?
Well, I don't. I hope to find out more about that because I don't know what they're planning. Here's the thing: we all think we know what disclosure is, right? First of all, I don't approve of disclosure. I don't want disclosure. Disclosure is the government narrative, Stu, on what the interaction between humans and aliens is. I don't believe that that's going to be true, correct, or accurate. So I'm not really. The only disclosure I want from government is for them to finally admit that aliens are a thing and they're visiting. And here's the evidence. Here's some of the evidence that we have that proves that. Because the first thing that'll do is it puts dickheads like Neil deGrasse Tyson out of work forever. Because these guys have invested everything. Bill Nye, the science guy, they've invested everything in this not being true. It puts Carl Sagan to shame. And we never have to listen to those guys again once the government says, no, there really are aliens. And guess what? We told you that all along. So that, is going to be very satisfying from a disclosure standpoint. But I don't know. I mean, I would have to get into a meeting and I would have to say, okay, what do you guys know? What can we say? Or what do we have anything to say about aliens or Roswell? Do we have anything to say about Rendlesham Forest? What about the Phoenix Lights? Let's go through all the famous cases. Were Betty and Barney Hill abducted or did they have a psychotic episode? All of these, I think the first thing people are going to want to know is all of these classic cases in the mythology. Let's go through what we know and what we don't know about them. Does MJ-12 really exist? Or did something like it exist? What was it called? Was it the Interplanetary Phenomenon Unit? So, without knowing what they actually know, I can't really speculate because they may come out and say, yeah, there's aliens, but they're all spider oraculoids who want to eat babies. I don't know. I don't know. Well, I can guarantee you the intelligence community narrative, is going to be very negative. It's going to be, we have to defend ourselves. And then that may be because they want to have a huge investment in defense spending, which not only will it benefit, of course, the corporations that are involved in building all these weapons and things, but it will also give them an excuse to release technologies they've had all along. Oh, guess what? We just invented to fight the aliens, teleporters, medical beds, whatever it is, right?
Well, if I was to stick my neck out, I would say it would be something like they are already here and they are walking amongst us. But that's just me.
Well, that's a little destabilizing because that's a little scary. That's like the Battlestar Galactica thing, and it's like, hey, as long as they all look like Victoria's Secret supermodels, I guess I'm okay with that. But to me, I'm not sure they're going to take that tack because I think that would scare people. Who do you trust? And then people turn on each other. Yep. The bad guys might want that. I don't think the good guys, if there are any, are going to want that. So.
Yeah. I know, from a lot of her shows and things like that. Like Carrie Cassidy, for example, she's a big proponent of like, let everything out and people aren't stupid, you know, and it's not right to hold this back. But I'm not really of that opinion, because I think that, like you said, just kind of putting all this stuff out there can be very destabilizing, especially when we've been brainwashed, not us, but people have been brainwashed for so long to think there's no such thing as aliens. Even if people, you know, percentage of them believe it, it's part of the narrative we've been taught that we're the only ones, and there people that think they're aliens are crazy. So I don't think it's a matter of thinking people are stupid or not. I think it's a matter of having people kind of freak out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I think it has to be done in phases. You know, phase one is, yeah, apparently aliens have been coming here for a long time. Yeah, they seem to be from other planets, like this one, similar to this one. We don't know exactly why they're here. We think it's got something to do with DNA. And this case, yeah, Roswell was real. Here's what we know about what really happened. Yes, astronauts saw UFOs. You know, just go through the basic mythology stuff. I think that would be phase one. At least that's how I do it. Would be phase one is all of the stories that have been out there, what aspects of those are true and what aspects are not. And, you know, then there's also going to be some retribution. There's the people that have lied about this. There's going to have to be some amnesty and retribution. You know, did they take out presidents? Did they kill President Kennedy over this? These are the things that have to come out first, and those are going to be shocking enough. And then you give them a couple of years to absorb that. And then the next thing is, oh, and, you know, there are aliens here right now that can pass for humans. And you don't know. I mean, that's a second phase thing to me. At least that's how I'd roll it out. If it was up to me. If I was the point man in charge of alien affairs for the Trump administration, that's probably how I do it.
So what role do you think Stephen Greer plays in this?
None.
So is he a
I don't think he knows his agent? Look, come on. I mean, I don't want to get into it with the other members of the community, but, you know, look, he did some good work 26 years ago. That's it. Everything else since then has just been, how do I keep making money off this? I mean, the Boogosphere is a proven prank, and he's going on and on and on about the Boogosphere. So what I think is going to happen is the people at these top commentators who have invested in these things that are going to turn out to be BS, they're going to descend in terms of credibility and stuff. I don't think he has a role to play in it. I mean, look, they've clearly stayed clear of him on the congressional committee. He keeps showing up to the meetings as a spectator because nobody will let him in the door. And, you know, that. Now, the people they have let in the door, I'm not wild about. I'm not wild about Grush, Elizondo. They're all intelligence community assets, as far as I'm concerned, playing on a role. But, you know, I mean, I don't know that they just need some different new people in there from my perspective.
Yeah, no, good.
Sorry to be harsh, but I'm just so tired of this. You know, I'm tired of it. I just
no. I mean, we all want to find out who these people are, you know, and we know there's a lot of faces out there that pretend to be part of the light who are not, and vice versa. And we're all trying to use our discernment, and it's just good to get another opinion about it.
Yeah, and I mean, just use your own gut instincts on whether you feel good about somebody or not. That usually tells you. And yeah. I think he started out sincerely, but then the intelligence community people, they start putting shiz in your ear. You know, they start working you and getting you to believe stuff. And I had a whistleblower tell me this, and God, how many whistleblowers have told us how many stories, and where's your evidence? And, you know, you can't depend on inside sources, because I don't think the inside sources know either. I don't think they know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Fair play. Okay.
So I want to slip in a question fast. I have a gardener here, and they were like blasting the sound, so that's why I'm on mute. But so talking about all this alien and disclosure and everything, do you think this has something to do with Iran? I know there's the geopolitical, and then there's sort of the thought we've heard people talk about Stargates and things like that. What's your thought on all that?
There's a Stargate in Iran. Maybe there is. That's not why we're doing this. This, to me, is all financial and political in the context of the financing. So, Iran is one of the last vestiges of what we call the deep state cabal, the bad guys. It's one of the last places they can go. I mean, you look at where they were operating out of with their money laundering and their child trafficking and all the things, the drug running, all the things they've been doing. They've been operating out of Mexico. They've been operating out of Venezuela. They've been operating out of Ukraine. They've been operating out of Iran. And what you see, Persia, as I'm going to call it from now on, because it needs to go back to being Persia. The bad guys have been stealing from, exploiting these people and using them as their bases for a long, long time. And basically Iran has been owned by the Bank of London for 118 years since oil was discovered there. And the British made a deal that was great for them and lousy for the people of Persia. They came in, BP, what eventually became BP, took over. They had a great contract to oil leasing and exploiting all the technology. And that money flow is what the dark side, the deep state, wanted to get their hands on in 1979. And, you had the weak, pliable Jimmy Carter in charge. He was not a strong person. And he got fooled and overwhelmed by the CIA and actually helped the Ayatollah take control. And, we've had 47 years of terrorism. And the purpose of what the bank is trying to do, the Bank of London is trying to do, and Lloyd's of London, who, by the way, insures all the boats that goes through the Straits of Hormuz, right? They're the ones making all the money off that. All that money all goes back to the crown, the English crown. And what they've been doing is just keeping Israel and Iran and the entire Middle East in constant conflict between the Arabs and the Jews for 120 years now. And Trump is trying to put a stop to that. And he's been extremely successful so far with things like the Abraham Accords. He's got a lot of the Islamic Arab countries now on board with making peace with Israel. And Netanyahu may be a stooge of the Bank of London, too. I know somebody else who is, David Icke. David Icke is 100% a paid employee of the Bank of London. And he pretends like he's not. But you look at everything he posts. Everything he posts is designed to keep the conflict going. Israel is the bad guy. Oh, they committed genocide in Gaza. Well, I don't think Hamas really was too good to the Israeli people a couple of years ago. So Netanyahu and Icke and all these guys are all owned by the Bank of London, and I think Trump is going to be getting rid of all of them. He doesn't want. Oh, Donald Trump is so weak he can't open the Strait of Hormuz. He doesn't want it open. Why does he want it open? We don't care. We don't get any of our oil from Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. We get less than 1%. You know who gets it? China and Russia especially get their oil from, they used to get it from Venezuela, not anymore. Now we control that because we went in and removed their government. Then they had to go back to Iran. They're getting it all from Iran. Well, not anymore because the strait is closed. So Trump doesn't want the Strait of Hormuz open because right now China's being starved. What's China doing? They're surrounding Taiwan with 200 ships. And Trump's like, oh, yeah, okay, well, if you want the oil, you're going to have to come through me. And I'm not giving it to you unless you back down. So there's this whole financial global game going on right now that we're in the middle of. And I actually think it's pretty exciting because I'm hoping that the resolution of the situation in Iran will lead to the currency reset, the revaluation of the currencies, and a sort of the golden age that Trump is always talking about. So, I mean, look at the territories that are now, that were under the control of the bad guys, that are now under control of Trump. And you may view Trump as a bad guy. That's fine. I'm kind of neutral on him, neutral to positive. But, Greenland, we got that. Canada, we're getting that. Venezuela, we've got control of that. Iran, the center of Middle Eastern terrorism for 47 years. We're going to have control of that very soon. Cuba is next on the list. And Mexico is the last. So once that happens, we'll have sort of they'll be the only place that the bad guys will have to run to is probably Ukraine. And Vlad is not going to let them get away with that. So, I mean, looks to me like financially the bad guys are surrounded. I think the Vatican and the Crown are going to take big hits here very soon financially and in terms of prestige. And the United States is going to be leading the next wave of global geopolitics, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. And we all hope it's a positive thing with more freedom than we've had in the last 20 years. So yeah. I don't know. Was that a long answer to a very short question?
No, that was a good answer.
Yeah, it's a great answer.
Yeah.
And it's funny though, like you said about the Vatican, the Catholic Church, I kind of think that takedown has been happening for a very long time just here in the States when you consider all that's been exposed, in terms of what was going on with these priests. I mean, many of the Catholic schools, the churches, they're pretty much bankrupted in a lot of places now. So I think that was a tactical. I mean, yes, that there were investigative reporters and all that, but let's be real. I think it was a little bit of a legal hit, if you will, on taking.
Oh, I agree. And when Trump went to visit the Pope and how unhappy the Pope
did
was,
not look happy.
And the pictures of Melania and Ivanka just smirking at the Pope, they know what's going on. That was the same trip where he went to England and he sat back in Winston Churchill's chair like he owned it, because he did. Because it used to be that the Crown of England was the creditor and the United States was the debtor, and Trump has completely flipped that, and now it's the Crown of England that's the debtor. And the United States is the creditor, and we're in charge of everything. People, remember how they made such a big deal about how, Trump violated protocol and walked in front of the Queen? No, he didn't. First of all, the Queen told him. She said, go. Why? Because you are the new sovereign. You're in charge. And that signal was way back in 2017. We're almost 10 years from that point. So you watch it, when Lloyds of London said, well, we're going to... the Crown was thinking, what we're going to do is if we shut down the Strait of Hormuz, then oil prices are going to spike and Trump's going to lose the midterm elections because gas prices are going to go up, and then we can impeach him and get rid of him. That was their strategy. That's exactly what Trump wanted them to do. Yeah. So when Lloyds of London tried to stop all the traffic by refusing to insure the ships, Trump said, okay, we'll insure the ships. So we're taking another money stream from you, and we'll use our Navy to protect the ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. So I think the price spike in gas is going to be temporary, and it's probably not going to be a deal breaker in November anyway. And you can see the chessboard being set up for the next pieces that are going to come through. And he's already done that, which is that he said, he had this plan ahead of time. He said, we really don't get any of our oil through the Straits of Hormuz. So we don't really want to protect it. So if Europe and China want your oil from Iran, guess what? You're going to either have to come and protect it yourselves, or you're going to have to pay us to protect it for you. He told that to NATO, and they all hemmed and hawed, and Canada's not doing it, and England's not doing it. Keir Starmer and Macron, they're not doing it. And what's happening now? After 3 or 4 days of hemming and hawing, they've all caved in, and they're all either sending ships or equipment, or they're going to pay us to do the dirty work for them. And that's the flip. That's the geopolitical flip that's taking place in the world with this guy in charge. Now, is it necessarily a good thing for America to be in charge of everything? Probably not. Probably not based on the behavior of CIA and the Jimmy Carters and the George W. Bushes. But I don't think that's who this guy is. I don't think he's a slave to those interests. And the whole point of all this is to get the United States ultimately out of it. We want to get out of the Middle East, except for economic development. We want to get out of Europe. We want out of NATO. We don't want to be in NATO anymore. Let the European countries defend themselves against Vladimir Putin if that's what they're really worried about. So it's exciting to watch all these changes on the world stage. It's exciting.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? I just we showed a little clip, Josh Reed talking the other day, and I can't remember exactly how it happened, but in about August of last year, Trump and Putin sort of made a deal with oil prices. They spiked, they went down. But in that period of time, Putin filled up a load of Russian tankers and moved them out to international waters, and they've all been sitting there waiting, full of oil. So that this is, we know it's all pre-planned and stuff. But I just want to add to that, when Trump went to the Vatican, they were all dressed as if it was the Vatican's funeral, wasn't it?
Yeah, black. Everybody. Well, I mean, I think there's a tradition that the ladies are supposed to wear black around the Pope. I don't know if that's exactly correct, but yeah, they were dressed like that. It did look like a funeral. And I think that Pope is no longer with us too. That you know.
Yeah.
So these power structures are not going to give it up easily, but they're being forced. You know, I don't know if you guys probably don't understand this reference or remember it, but there was a very famous world chess championship between Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky.
Yep.
Spassky was the Grand Master. He'd beaten Fischer before, but they got into the world championship in 1972. And Spassky started out winning, and then Fischer kind of came back, and then it was game 6. They had to get to a certain number of points. Game 6 kind of in the middle. And Bobby Fischer played this absolutely masterful game. And the way they described it is that he just trapped his opponent. He trapped the Russian and starved him of oxygen until he quit. And I watch what Trump is doing, and I think that's exactly what we see taking place. It's the same kind of game. It's like a chess match. And Trump has been taking their pieces off the board. And now it's simply a matter of how many more moves before checkmate. And I'm hoping checkmate is this year. That would be really exciting.
Mm-hmm. That would be exciting. And, you know, it's not that anybody's going to date fag or anything like that. We've all, you know, a lot of people are trying to do that. But, you know, it does seem like a lot is leading up to the 250th, you know, celebration.
Yeah.
It not looking at dates, but I would tend to just feel common sense. Of course, we could be wrong, that something's gonna, like, it's gonna start really speeding up a little bit, that something's gonna happen. What that is will be remain to be seen, but
maybe aliens.
yeah, I mean, there's so many different things, right? There's so many pokers in the fire that we're talking about, you know.
The thing is, though, Lisa, I feel like this is event driven. I mean, I think they'd like to drive it by dates. They'd like to do these things on these ideal dates. And we all know about the way they operate with this secret hidden religion and stuff, and why these dates are important. But I've seen a lot of these symbolic dates just get kind of blown through. Like I think Trump would have really liked to have Iran done and the surrender basically committed to, but you know, now he came back the other day and gave them 5 more days. But so, you know, I mean, I don't think we can hold to those things because I think it's going to be based on events and realities rather than based on this.
Yeah, well, you know, if it's moves and counter moves, it's obviously event driven, isn't it? You know, you do your move, wait for them to do their move, and it could take time. And, you know, we've mentioned before as well, a lot of people say perfect delta hit there on the Q drop, perfect 7-year delta there, perfect 8-year delta there. But we don't know how many deltas have been missed.
Exactly. We don't count that. That's right. We don't count that when they get missed. You know, oh, well, it's a 5-year delta, and then we missed that. Well, but it hit on the 6-year delta, so you don't know. Yeah. You don't know what the delta is on any given thing. So yeah, you're right. That's absolutely true. And
yeah, I mean, it's beautiful watching it play out, though, isn't it? From an awakened perspective,
it is, because I think the deep state is running out of moves. There's not that many more places they can run and they can hide. You know, and so you know they're running out of moves, and there's. It just depends on if are they going to let the information out? You know, are they going to tell us what the Romney family's been doing in Mexico for the last 100 years? I don't know. 125 years? I don't know. Are they going to tell us the truth about those people? I hope so. But I don't know.
You know, I kind of look at like some of this D-class is like levels, like the chess game. I mean, if you're looking for it, it's there for you to find. Like, we found all this. We know a lot of this stuff. We're aware, we've done our homework. We talk to people that have found it. And I don't think we just found it. You know what I'm saying? Because if they don't want us to find something, we're not going to find it. So they put it there. But I think it's also the level of what people are looking for. And I agree with you. I just don't think it's going to be like, hey, fellas, and they're going to make this big announcement. I just think it's going to be meeting people at the level. Now, some things, obviously, they're going to come out with, but I feel it's going to be relatively, in my opinion, contrived and easy to digest for the least awakened person.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're more awakened, you'll do your homework, you'll research, you'll, get into those circles because, but at the end of the day, I think, like you said, if they don't want to release stuff, we're not going to know. We're not going to find those things.
Yeah. And it's, I do think what there will be, though, Lisa, will be an end to the way the game is played right now. In other words, there won't be, the secrecy will not be quite as all-encompassing as it is right now. They will allow certain things to come out. They'll allow people to know certain things and say certain things. And look, let's face it, after all this is over, but hopefully, like I said, by the end of the year, after it's all over, the conspiracy theorists are going to have a lot more credibility than the guffaw people who don't, what a bunch of crap. I mean, I think it was, Trump, when he went after Robert Mueller, Brit Hume, the old stuffy old man, retire old man, you're just done. Well, this is exactly why people don't like Trump. It's like, dude, people love Trump. You're crazy, okay? And everything he said about Robert Mueller is objectively true. And, all the people posting about what he did to them show what a complete piece of scumbag this guy was. Sorry, I'm trying not to curse.
You don't have to try.
You can see
What a
that
Nazi this guy was. And, it's like, people love Trump for basically saying, no, I'm not going to, just because somebody died, I'm not going to say anything nice about him if they weren't nice. Does anybody say anything nice about Hitler because he was dead?
Yeah.
Or Stalin? No, nobody says anything nice about them because they were a-holes. Okay?
You say that with Trump's True Social post he put out.
Yeah.
It's
dead on.
Good.
Dead on. Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Let's add a few more to the list, So, I mean, I don't know. Elisa, are we ever gonna just admit that Chuck Schumer's wife is a dude? I don't know. That
I mean, there's levels of like, right? There's levels of things that are really nefarious, right? And then there's another level that is just to understand how these people live, right? And to understand where they're coming from. However, I think as truthers, for me, those things would just be enjoyable because I would just like to see the look on all these women, right? My kids were in school, like grade school at the time, and all these women who just thought Michelle Obama was so classy and so beautiful and so stylish.
Linebacker. She played linebacker in college.
Right. And I just want to see those people just be shocked. And that's like a stupid thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's not really like in the sense of, it is from the perspective of just how they deceive, right? And that goes down a whole bunch of rabbit holes. But, some of these things are just, I think they're going to be fun for us. And, I don't know if you've been following, I know you're really busy, but I have a cousin, and he was a real, like, where's your tinfoil hat and all that kind of stuff with me. And what his precipice moment was the Epstein files. And we're doing a show now called Red Pilling Renee, because he was so humbled that he didn't see this stuff. And I think intelligent people who start to awaken act like that. Assholes are not going to be so humble, but there's got to be some stuff over, that continues to show people. But I'm with you. I don't think a lot of the stuff that we know and that we've researched is going to come out as fast and furiously as we would like. Maybe years from now, I don't know, but
yeah, and there's other things too. I mean, this has to be done right. Okay, Trump is talking to these people in Iran. The Islamic Republic has to be replaced. It has to be removed. They need to have all power stripped from them. The people that survived, that have committed these horrific crimes against the Persian people, they need to pay the ultimate price for that. I'd love to see the Shah get in and basically outlaw Islam in his country. If they want their own little enclave off in a corner, fine, but you're not part of our country. Our country is going to be Persia. It's a Christian and Zoroastrian country. You're free to worship those. Islam is outlawed. We're going to bulldoze every mosque. That's what needs to happen. And anything short of that, I think, will be ultimately a failure by Trump, because 2 years from now, we're going to be back here again, worrying about whether these nutty Islamists are trying to make another nuclear bomb. Because even though this conflict might get resolved, which will enable certain things to go forward, we have to get rid of this. It's like a cancer cell or a cyst on your rear end. You got to get the whole thing or it'll come back. So I'm going to watch that very closely. And that will tell us a little bit about how serious President Trump is about really dramatically changing things. I feel like there's too much of the old guard, the old way of doing things being preserved, and I understand we need a transition, but
listen, the Muslims are no different. I'm talking about the average Muslim. I'm not talking about, right? They're no different than the Catholics and all these other religions that have been hoodwinked about what their religion is really about, and the lies that they've been told, and that there's so much control.
Yeah.
Right. So there is that element that, these people, you lived your whole life a certain way, and you have these people that are coming out of Iran, these brilliant people that are former Muslims, talking about how this was forced on them, that their history has nothing to do with Islam. They're a lot more outspoken as a former Muslim than I could be as a Christian, right?
Persia is not a Muslim country. It never has been.
That's right.
The CIA, because Jimmy Carter was weak, took a small minority and gave them the power, because they knew that they would institute a reign of terror, and they would continue the terrorism throughout the Middle East, and keep the conflict going. And the Crown of England, and probably the Vatican Bank as well, they were cleaning up by supplying arms to both sides. So,
absolutely.
yeah. And that's got to end.
It does. And, I was at an event, Stay Awake America event a couple of months ago. And I have to tell you, I was like taken aback in a good way, hearing these people just call balls and strikes about what's really been going on, and, taking some serious jabs at Muhammad and the truth about how he lived and what he was all about. And, but then again, you've got people that are devout Muslims, and I'm not talking about the lunatic fringe. I'm just talking like their whole world is going to fall apart, just like the Catholics, so I guess they have to do it in such a way that, I'm not talking about from what you're talking about strategically, but I mean disclosure of a lot of this to do. Yeah. And I wouldn't want to be in that position, but I 117% agree with you that those people have been completely hijacked, and it needs to change fast.
Well, I got to be honest. I don't care about the Muslim world. I don't care about Islam, except to the point that I don't want it in my country, Elisa.
No, I don't either. But I'm talking about
nation. So I don't want any mosques. I think we should declare it personally. This may seem a little radical, but I think we should declare it a political ideology, not a religion, because it's not a religion. It's a political ideology which uses brainwashing to basically get the followers to do insane stuff. And it's the root of most of the conflict in the world today. And I think the Japanese make no secret of it. We don't want you here. It's outlawed. If we find you, we'll burn down your buildings. We'll burn your Qurans. That's the stance I think the whole world needs to take. Islam is far more destructive and has killed way more people than Nazism ever has. Yet Nazism is, gets a really, really horrible rap. And you got people apologizing for Islam everywhere in our country and in Europe, and bringing more of them in to what? Destroy your country? Yeah, that's what the agenda is. The globalists don't care what form of government you have, as long as they're the ones in control of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're fighting each other.
Yep.
Divide and conquer. It's always been the same.
Yeah, Orwell put it right out there. So.
All right, so we got this. I'm going to go down this path just a little bit, but Mike, will we ever RV? So tired of hearing about the slow bonds, but not tired of hearing from you.
Well, thank you, Joe. Some other people are in the chat. Yeah, we are. It's part of the plan. I should find out more about that later today, just to let you know. But yeah, there are people that I know that are at different levels of banking and government, and they all know about it, and everybody's been preparing for it and working on it. We are late. It was supposed to have happened by the end of 2023. It's now early 2026. We are late, but I think what happens is, and this is, Donald Trump has a lot of strengths. He also has some weaknesses, and one of them is that he's at the last minute, he's, well, let's throw this in. Let's get these people in. No, I don't give a shit anymore. All right. I don't care. I don't want to add Outer Mongolia to the list, peace in Outer Mongolia. I don't care. It's like time to finish this thing and move forward, because that's going to be the key to a different world, to having a completely different world. But Trump loves to make deals. And so I think we've been on the brink of this thing happening a lot. I mean, I know for a fact we've been absolutely ready since for a year. We've been ready. All the gold has been moved into place. Everything's ready to go. So let's just stop messing around with this. And right now, my understanding at the moment is that it's the Iran situation, which is what's holding this up, waiting for that to be resolved.
All right. So let me ask you, just from your, because you have a lot of knowledge, you talk to a lot of people and everything. How does the average person, like, I'm going to just talk like as if we know nothing. How does the average person find out and benefit from the RV? You're just an average person who bought a little bit of foreign currency, and how does that actually trickle down for people to know that it's happened?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I would have told you a couple of years ago, well, when the stock market collapses, that's when the new system is going to come in. It's going to be when they tell you that we've gone to a gold-backed, asset-backed currency system. That's when you're going to know it's happened. So if you're not following this, tracking this, watching shows like my shows, watching shows like you guys, shows like Patriots Across the Pond, you're not going to know unless you just wait for there to be some, and it'll be fake, but some global financial event, some black swan event. Oh, we have to do something. Guess what? We're going to go to a gold-backed currency. So you're going to have to wait for a sign.
So you think that's kind of the linchpin language occurrence that gives.
That's when the average person who's got some Vietnamese money in their drawer is gonna know that it's happened. Yeah. Now you can profit more, benefit more if you're involved and you hold all these different currencies, and you're willing to go in and when do I get an appointment for a redemption and all that stuff? But that puts you on the emotional roller coaster, right? So if you don't want to be on that, hi there. If you don't want to be on that, it's hard. It's hard to be on it. So
yeah, it's very hard.
A lot of people, I tell them, just take it, stick it in your drawer, and you should know when it's time to go to the bank.
Yeah.
I say this all the time. It's like betting on a big horse race. Just pick your horses and forget about them. Don't keep swapping them about and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's like, well, the price of oil is really high. Well, that's good for the RV, but because contracts are going to lock in at a higher rate. But now it's coming back down again. So who knows? I mean, to me, it's you can either choose to be involved in this day to day, but that's going to be a roller coaster. And if you can't handle the roller coaster, you shouldn't be on it. I mean, way back in the day, I might have indulged in a few recreational drugs that involved, straws and mirrors and white powder. And the thing is, it's great. And you're up here and you're like all excited. And then you boom, you crash. And then you go back up almost and then boom. And I realized if you can't handle the crash, that's how you get addicted. I stopped doing it just because, it was 1982 or something. And I'm like, okay, I'm a grown man. I'm married. I should probably stop this. But it's the same kind of thing here. There's people who can't handle the crash. They get all excited because it looks like it's going to happen. And then I've heard we've gotten as close as 30 seconds to activation, and Trump has pulled the plug on it in the last few months because he wanted to do some other deal. And then boom, you come down. If you can't handle the come down, you shouldn't be following it day to day.
Yeah.
You just pick up some and stick it in a drawer, and it'll become obvious when it all goes down.
So back in the day, not that long ago, but we also heard how there's non-disclosure. Like, do you think any of that is true? Do you think it's going to be as simple as, look, if you're in our community, we're going to hear about it. But if there's non-disclosures, which I'm still not quite understanding what that's all about. But the point is, do you think it's going to be as simple as, okay, I've got, a number of dong and maybe I have some dinar and I'm going to just go down to the bank and tell them I want the best rate and that's that? Or do you think
if you do that, you don't have any NDAs to worry about. But if you go to a private exchange, a redemption center or something, and you have a certain contract to do certain things, let's say contribute to the financial well-being of the planet, what they call humanitarian projects, you're going to get a much higher rate than that. And you're going to have to keep your mouth shut about it. If you want that extra benefit, you're going to have to keep your mouth shut about it, and you're going to have to spend the money the right way. If it's for humanitarian projects, you got to spend it for that stuff, and you'll get a higher percentage for your own personal use as well. But the point being that you're going to have issues. You're going to have to sign an NDA if you do a private exchange that's higher rates, because what they don't want is, hey, wait a minute. I gave you 1 million of my Vietnamese dong and I got 50 cents, 47 cents, but I just found out my friend over here got, $2.12 or $5.60 for his 1 million dong. I want my money. They do not want that chaos. The other thing too is they want this to go as smoothly as it possibly can in the background. They do not want this to be public, because then it leads to other questions. Where did this money come from? Where's this money been all this time? Who's held all this gold? What about my birth certificate? Is that really, they don't want all those questions being asked by the average person, because for a while we transition to a few generations from now, a completely different kind of economy, Elisa, they want to keep it as sailing as smooth as they can, right? They don't want
So, and then just getting on the humanitarian, sorry about that. The humanitarian projects. I heard it was only if you had Zim.
Yes, Zim is the primary one. I also hear that Venezuelan Bolivar will be part of that, but I'm not sure about that. I hear all kinds of conflicting information all the time. And but Zim is the primary one with the humanitarian funding, but you probably need to have a project. You need to say, look, this is what I want to spend it on. My gift to humanity, my humanitarian project. Hey, I want to send a rocket to the moon. I want to live stream the entire thing, and I want to land right next to the lunar module on Apollo 11, where Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were, and I want to send a rover out and go around and look at their footprints. So everybody can watch in live time as we go to the moon. And guess what? We really went to the moon. Here's their footprints. So that's what I want to do. Of course, everybody will say, oh, it's just AI. You stage it in the studio. But
yeah, I mean, what we're talking about now, I mean, a lot of people are talking, waiting for Nasara to happen. I don't call it Nasara anyway. I call it Trumpsara, because if you're waiting for one event like that, you look at the last few years and you can see bits and pieces of it rolling out the whole time. And if we find out that most of religion has been a lie and there's no wars in these countries, what you were saying about Islam earlier and stuff, and this mass migration, I do believe, Elisa and I have talked about this, that there will be a massive amount of self-deportation because people will want to be in their country of origin.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that because I think these people are invaders. I don't think that I think they're here politically. They're here to take over and destroy what we have. They are not here for it's not the financial stuff. They're using the financial benefits that Keir Starmer and George W. Bush and Barack Obama gave them. But no, their purpose here is as an army to destroy Western civilization. That's what they're trying to do. So I think we're going to have to round them up and kick them out. And I'm like, you can start that anytime, Mr. President. I don't agree with that. I don't think they're going to self-deport because they're not here. There are maybe women and children that are here for the financial benefits, but I don't know. I really think it's an invasion, and we're going to have to fight it off.
I mean, you do see in a lot of these mosques, don't you? The people in them are being radicalized by these imams and stuff. So obviously, a majority, well, not majority, a vast amount of these people wouldn't know any better anyway. But they're constantly being radicalized. It's like people with Trump derangement syndrome being radicalized by fucking CNN. Everyone is being radicalized in a certain way to hate upon someone else. Yeah. So I just think it's a negative influence that we should get out of our borders of both our countries to start with. Well, we're definitely seeing people sort of gaining their courage and using their voice and starting to wave their flags about again, and preaching Christianity and whatever things they do that people have been told they're not allowed to do for so long. So I think this awakening is rising all the time. Be careful. Be careful because
the financial thing is going to change. It's going to change the culture. All right. Do not let them try to insert the alien between you and God, because that is part of the plan.
Yep.
The bad guys, they want to replace God with the alien, and they're not gods. They're not better than us. They're not stronger than us. They're here because they need something from us. We don't need anything from them. They need something from us. So that's where I think these two things are going to overlap a little bit, because we're going to see a lot of different aspects of this whole generational shift we're living under right now. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch.
Yeah. Well, I think they've used a lot of science as well, haven't they? And other narratives and theories to take God out of people's lives.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole point.
Well, they tried to get people to believe in science over God, and they didn't. And that didn't work. So now we're on to the next thing. Well, I guess we're going to have to pull out the alien card. Hopefully that's the last one they have.
Well, he did say, didn't he? That would be their last move. What was that? Werner von Braun.
Yeah.
Their last card to play will be the fake alien invasion.
Yep. So I think we're right about at that point. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know you have a lot going on. You asked for an hour. I know you're going to meet a mutual friend out there, right?
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Getting together with Mel. Well, thanks for coming on. It's always good.
Love it, guys. We'll do it again.
If you do get any insider information, do let us know.
I'll pass it on. Yeah, I'll pass it on. We'll see. So,
brilliant. All right.
And remember, there's people who think they know, but they don't really know. So, you can believe their story, or do I believe this other guy's story? That's what we're looking at. So
go with your gut.
All right.
All times.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. At all times.
All right.
Cheers, Mike.
Take care, Mike.
Thanks, Elisa. Love you guys.
See ya.
Love you guys too.
Bye. Oh, we'll just have a little chat for a bit. That was good. I enjoyed that.
Yes. Well, I'm glad we were able to get him on. Sorry.
I was just going to mention there as well, all this stuff with Nick Shirley. you know, going around and all this Minnesota forward and moving into California and coming into New York and stuff. You don't think for 1 minute that guy in a sweatshirt just went out with a notepad and started doing that.
Right,
no,
exactly.
If you look into this, you know, Nick Shirley was one of those reporters when Trump did that round table. I think he was there when he was talking about Antifa a while ago. Remember all them reporters having a go? When Joe Rambo and that lot went down to Mar-a-Lago for the James O'Keefe event, Nick Shirley got an awards there. They were talking about Nick Shirley being here, James O'Keefe turning up 2 days later. Nick Shirley being in another place, James O'Keefe turning up 2 days later. They're all part of this white hat operation.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
100%. And they are being used. You know, if Trump came out and said there's 40 Minnesota, TDS, madness.
Completely.
If a young man who was maybe a little bit conservative, a little bit liberal, went out and went, fucking hell, look what I found. People start looking, don't they? And this is it. This is Trump isolating himself from these things. It told you in Q drops 4 and 6. Trump must remain neutral as people begin to be indicted.
Yeah.
And that was in 2017. Never forget that.
And also just the idea, you know, POTUS is well insulated. It's another way of saying he's not attached. You're not going to see him on, you know, in any of these situations. But, you know, it does kind of harken back to, you know, what makes a great movie, great actors, because I think actor doesn't necessarily mean the true sense of someone playing a part. It could also just be the people who are, they're just playing their part, if that makes any sense, that differentiation. So Nick Shirley he very well might be an actor, or he may just be, he's in the spotlight playing his part at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to say, if anyone wants someone to watch later, I watched this earlier. I found this girl, Trader Girl Q, because I watched her on an interview with Nino the other day, and I thought, that's interesting. So I subscribe to a Rumble channel, and I watched the latest one today. Checkmate incoming, raptured by comet, DNA upgrade, the departure of King Charles III, death incoming. Now she's talking about shit's going to go down today. So none of us like to date fags. She does say at the end of it, let's see what happens. But that is a really, really interesting 2 hours. If anyone wants something to watch later. And I think it was Badger Brock in the chat was saying to me that, what was it? It might have been. Someone was saying to that, might have been a Dutch rumbler, a Dutch rumbler. I can't remember who it was, but someone said that to me right at the start. But yeah, that's amazing. You're going to watch that later, aren't you?
I'm going to watch that, yeah.
You want to watch it in the next few hours, really, in case the comic comes in.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm going to watch it when we get done. Yeah. All right, so we've got Matt Geiger tomorrow at 11 Eastern, and we're still 4 hours, right? You guys didn't change the clock yet?
Yeah, until the 29th, we're 4 hours difference.
All right, so that's 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and then we're going on a round table on Thursday night at 7 p.m. for me. That's 3 p.m. for you, Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT. No, it's not.
Every bit of thing is saying 2 p.m. Eastern.
Well, you just said it's 4 hours.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Well, why did you tell me it was 7 then?
Oh no, 2 p.m. is what it is Eastern time. So yeah, did you say 6?
Well, I'm glad it's on Zoom now because I've got to delete all the thumbnails I made up anyway. Haven't I? So that's good because they were wrong. I'm going to go through our messages now where you told me it's 7 p.m.
Yeah, no, that's right. 4 hours. Yeah, I made a mistake.
Oh, well, if that's 6 p.m. tomorrow night, that's better. But like I was saying, it's on Zoom, so we won't be live on Thursday, but sometime late evening, I'll be uploading that when it's finished.
Well, you.
If I get the MP4 after. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Might see you tomorrow for a bit of Matt Geiger. We love you all. Where we go, when we go all.
Love you guys.
Yeah. Take care. See you later.
Bye.
Make sure you're watching Stu's News and Patriots Across the Pond for some of your awakening information. Amazing guests every week from Monday to Saturday. Visit patriotsacrossthepond.com and follow Stewie and Elisa today on Rumble for the live shows. And remember, where we go one, we go all.
In a world flooded with noise, clarity has become rare. People are questioning what they're told and searching for something real. Mr. Heal's modern wellness meets old school remedies. CBD tinctures, methylene blue, gummies and edibles, THC-free wellness, and functional remedies crafted with old school care and modern precision. Biozox, a trusted source for ivermectin and fenbendazole. Biozox, believe your health decisions should be yours, not dictated by politicians or big pharma. Crafted with purpose and precision, freedom-forged coffee, cacao and mushroom tinctures, small batch roasted coffee, rich cacao and functional mushrooms crafted with purpose. Verity Metals, redefining what precious metals investing should be. Why choose Verity Metals? We're not just another gold dealer. We're a trusted retirement partner. Our clients choose us because we lead with education, integrity, and transparency. Medical bills are the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States, accounting for 66.5% of bankruptcies. We can all agree the healthcare system is broken. There is an alternative: impact health sharing, which Yahoo News is calling the disruptor in the $4.6 trillion healthcare system. For more information, visit patriotsacrossthepond.com.